Bone, joint, and muscle injuries, they can happen without warning. That's why UPMC Orthopedic Care provides convenient walk-in access at our injury clinics throughout the region. No appointments are needed, just walk in for expert evaluation and exceptional care by our team of orthopedic specialists. Clinics are located in Carlisle, Lidditz, Harrisburg, and Enola. For directions and hours or to learn more, visit upmc.com/injuryclinic.
All right, welcome back to another edition of the PA High School Football Report podcast. We are powered by PennLive. Eric Epler alongside longtime colleague. Now, you've been in the business for a while now. You're a veteran. Dan Sostek. Dan, how you doing?
Doing well, just trying to determine my game plan for Thursday. I don't know about you if you're a sides over turkey guy. I'm a turkey over sides guy, so trying to figure out the correct ratio of what my plate's going to be. You have to be thinking about this days ahead of time.
You have to section it off. Mm-hmm. First, you get the biggest plate you can find.
Yep,
number one. I am like you. I'm a turkey over sides guy. I don't like all the foo-foo stuff. Mm. There should not be cranberry in the household at all. I still don't know.
Diuretic. If you need a diuretic, it's good for that. Yes. What is it? The Departed, right? When he orders the cranberry juice?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The natural diabetic. Yeah. Yes, I agree. I'm not all the foo-foo stuff. If you just had the big old bird and some mashed taters, I'd be fine with that.
And a nice vat of gravy. Just dump it all over.
I am not a gravy guy. I do not eat gravy.
Yeah. Well, a good turkey doesn't need it, but you can't always bank on a good turkey. So
that's right. The peanut oil is purchased. The fryer will be prepped and ready, and I'll be out in the cold where I belong. That's where they put me every turkey day, frying the bird. But I am like 13 for 13. I haven't burned anything down yet.
That's good. There's usually one Thanksgiving where everything goes wrong, right?
Yes. Yeah. Like the oven suddenly doesn't work.
Yep. And then everyone's just screaming on top of each other.
That's when the moms and the mothers-in-law get really upset. You just,
And then you say a word to them. You say like, "Hey, the Cowboys just scored," and they tell you to shut up.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Cowboys score would not be what they would say, but yeah.
Yeah.
But they did come up with a big win.
Yeah. Yeah. Micah Parsons came back. They won a game. So
yeah, exactly. All right, Dan, let's get to it. 2 weeks left. Can you believe this, dude? I mean, seriously, the season for us, technically runs from about, I would say, July 1st until till a couple of weeks before Christmas.
Yeah.
This year, excuse me, we're a little early. Not too long ago, Dan, we had a PIAA football season that ended on the 19th of December. That was the longest season that I can remember. But we started a week earlier this year. But we've been going hard since July 1st and now down to 2 weeks left. State semifinals, all district titles have been captured. And that includes Bishop McDevitt's. Is that 6th straight? Am I correct there?
Yeah, I believe so. And number 18 overall.
18 overall. So they're tied with Manheim Central now for all-time titles at 18 in District 3. Harrisburg banked another 6A title. They have been absolutely dominant in that respect, 4 in a row for them. So they are back in the state semifinals. And we also had Lampeter Strasburg win a District 3 4A title over the weekend against a very good Wyomissing team. And that really proved out to be one of probably the best game of the week.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah. Everyone was updating that one throughout the McDevitt game in the press box because when you're in Lancaster, everyone's keeping track on the Lampeter game over what's going on in McDevitt Exeter. So
that's exactly right. All right, so we're going to check out a couple of state semifinals. We're going to dig a little deeper into them in a few minutes. But first, let's go back and talk a little bit about what we saw for what essentially is the quarterfinal round. Tell us where you were and break down your game coverage.
Yeah, I mean, the McDevitt Exeter game was. It was. I don't want to be disrespectful here, but the game was over the second the ball was snapped. Like it was. It was one of those games where you could just tell from the first play these teams were not, on the same footing. Yeah, they were not on the same level, right? Like, and part of it was Jaden Zandier came into the game banged up, and if that kid's in the game banged up, I don't think Exeter's going to have much of a chance against a team like McDevitt. He came in banged up, left the game on crutches, finished the game with 5 carries for 3 yards. When you have a 2,000-yard, 30-touchdown rusher go out like that, it's probably not going to go well. But man, McDevitt, that was probably their most complete game I've seen them play this year on both sides of the ball. Running game was excellent. Stone Saunders made every throw he needed to make. The only miss was he just missed a 70-yard bomb to Dominic Diaz-Ellis, and they ended up scoring that drive anyway. So it didn't really matter. The defense was outstanding. Landon Blauk with his first career interception. I wrote a little thing about him because, when you think about McDevitt and their offensive line, you don't usually think of guys that look like Landon Black playing left tackle, right? You think of these like guys, these big old, classic offensive linemen. But he started tight end for them 2 years ago in the state championship game. He's kind of a sleeker build, but he's done a great job at left tackle, and they've started to use him on the defensive line, which is something Jeff Wechter talked to me about. That in years past they've been using guys on both sides all year. This year, they've really tried to limit that until the playoffs. So Dominic Diaz-Ellis getting more reps there. But it was a complete performance. Exeter just had no answer for him.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. Obviously, when your bell cow is banged up this time of the year, everything hurts a little bit more with the weather and things like that. We talk all season long about Bishop McDevitt and just their boatload of athletes, guys that you can, even like Blauk, you can mix in and mix out. And that's such a luxury this time of year because, like we said, it's these guys have been pressing the button and going at it since basically the middle of July, either through the weight room and then camp and then obviously through an unbelievably tough, difficult physical schedule in the Mid-Penn Commonwealth. And then you had a barn burner against State College there to end the season, where it was just, you threw everything in the kitchen sink at State College in that shootout. And then, it's such good preparation, and that's the thing we usually talk with Coach Wechter early in the season, playing these teams like Mount St. Joseph and LaSalle College over the last couple of years and stuff is great. It's sort of a tester, almost more for the coaches than it is for the players.
Yeah.
Because the coaches have to say, okay, this is what it's going to look like in 10 to 12 weeks. And this is the level we need to get these guys to. And obviously having the talent up front is most important. But you can spend 4 to 5 to 6 weeks moving guys in and out of positions, getting them in the right spot, finding the right pieces. And then by the time you get to the postseason, even though they're bumped up in 5A, you saw what they did to Conrad Weiser, who was undefeated. You saw what they did to a really good Exeter team just a few days ago. That's the crux when you play Bishop McDevitt, and especially this time of the year. That team's played a lot of football.
Yep.
In the past 7 years, a lot of football, 12, 13, 14 games minimum every season. All of that matters this time of year. Dan, I got the pleasure, again, of heading back out to District 6 country. Mansion Park Stadium seems to be my second home. I'm always greeted with beautiful weather. I will tell you this. Getting over Sidling Hill was no picnic, brother.
No.
It went from about 35 degrees at the bottom of the hill to about 26 and about 6 inches of snow on top of the hill. So old Epi was creeping and crawling for that 5 or 6 mile stretch. You're up top there at the top of PA. But I get to saw Pittsburgh Central Catholic, put my own eyes on them for the first time. I've seen film, been impressed, and then certainly impressed by a 41-19 victory over State College.
Yeah, it seems pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know how PCC got there, to be honest, because obviously the weather was all from the west, coming from the west and south. So they
Probably just had Elijah Faulkner run them there.
Well, he probably, or they had just unbelievable like Terminator bus drivers.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But they pulled in right around 4:45 at Mansion Park, and it was a constant wintry mix pour for the entire game until about 30 seconds left. And that's Altoona. We love the place for that. But fourth PIAA playoff meeting between SC and PCC, and the Vikings are now 4-0 following that 41-19 win. I just think it felt very much like State College just ran out of gas. The pace of Pittsburgh Central Catholic, it's the fastest run offense I've ever seen in my 28, 29 years doing this. They run a play about every 8 to 10 seconds. Jair Wallace, their quarterback, is a really good engineer, and I'm not just, and that's not a diss to his skill set, because he seems to be getting better every week. But trying to maneuver against this athletic defense was very difficult, very difficult. So, and of course, PCC has a ton of FBS guys. Bradley Gompers was huge in this one, especially defensively. Xavier Thomas, who's the Penn State recruit, had a couple of picks. And their linebackers are just really, really good. I mean, it's one of the best units I've seen in a long, long time. It was just not a good outcome for State College. Tough way to finish a very successful season for them, but PCC did everything they needed to do in this one. I don't know if you got a chance to see PCC, Dan, watch some film or anything like that.
I followed from afar, and I mean, it's been a while since they've been this far into the play. Like this feels like one of their best teams that they've had in a while. Probably since when maybe since those like David Adams, DeMar Hamlin days. Obviously, one of the I think they might be second all time in putting players to the NFL of anyone of any high school. I was actually looking that up, and the number one team is Kiski, and they're all players from like the 40s. But the Central Catholic, we all know the type of talent that they amass there. But this feels like a really kind of well molded group. To do what they did, the State College is pretty impressive. And I'm really excited for this matchup because I think it's kind of a different challenge, because this State College team is one of those teams that they win with numbers, right? It's not like they have that super high end, upper echelon, top tier 5-star star, right? But they've just got tons of really good players. Harrisburg is going to be a different challenge, right? Where they have that upper echelon talent to match what Central Catholic's going to put out there. And I think it's going to be a different dynamic. And I really I think both these matchups that the Mid-Penn teams have this week are super fascinating, because I really could see the game. Like there are ways that these games could get away from either team, I feel.
Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely. Big effort too. Elijah Faulkner, their running back, 40 carries in this one.
Yeah.
Every time it was just 5, 8, boom. And this offensive line was just on point. And like I said, the State College defense was on the field for a long, long time.
Well, I'm glad one of the teams in Oakland, the Oakland neighborhood of Pittsburgh, could win a football game in recent weeks, because the University of Pittsburgh, a couple blocks down, can't do that anymore. So Central Catholics put it on for the Oakland contingent.
Yeah, exactly.
Bone, joint, and muscle injuries, they can happen without warning. That's why UPMC Orthopedic Care provides convenient walk-in access at our injury clinics throughout the region. No appointments are needed, just walk in for expert evaluation and exceptional care by our team of orthopedic specialists. Clinics are located in Carlisle, Lidditz, Harrisburg, and Enola. For directions and hours, or to learn more, visit upmc.com/injuryclinic.
All right, this was a another 6A semifinal, or I'm sorry, quarterfinal at Don Thomas Stadium on Saturday. Made the trip to Exeter High School to see Harrisburg win 42-14 over Wilson for the District 3 title. Harrisburg's fourth straight in this one. This one surprisingly was never close either.
Yeah.
Harrisburg built a 21-0 edge through the usual suspects, big play backfield, and of course defensively. Wilson never got its run game going, really, and frankly, despite all the good things that their quarterback Maddox Gruber has done this year, the team just isn't designed to catch up in that sort of deficit against teams that who are against athletic teams like Harrisburg. I was sort of surprised. I know Manheim Township kind of imploded a week earlier in the semifinal round, but yeah, I was not very impressed. Don't get me wrong, Harrisburg was good. Harrisburg played very, very well. But I was a little disappointed in Wilson's performance. And I think most of the people there would sort of agree with me. Two things for this one. Harrisburg back in the state semifinals for the fourth straight time. Uh, eh, you know, and will Calvin Everett really have high end recruit Elias Koch to kind of utilize against PCC? Koch was injured late in the third quarter Saturday, Dan.
Yeah.
He did not return. He left the field on crutches with his right ankle heavily bandaged and obviously packed with ice. I'm not a doctor, but the description that he gave me of what happened on the play did not really instill confidence that he'll be ready for PCC. I know he's young and talented, and
I've heard some optimism, but I think at the very least the kid. I think we know the type of kid Elias is.
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. I think if somebody's going to gut it out,
Yeah.
if even if it's a sprain or maybe it was just a freak play too, and whatever, and he'll be ready. But
People oftentimes mistake the crutches too for a
yeah,
serious injury, and a lot of times it's let's just keep him off the foot to make sure.
well,
So
and plus it was packed with ice, and that's of
yeah,
course if you tweak it or roll it, you want the swelling to stay down. You pack it away, and you just take precautions. So hopefully that's it.
yeah.
Because
I think they'll need him
oh yeah, they'll need him.
because I think with that set with that Central Catholic linebacking core, I think that Harrisburg can still run the ball, but I don't think that they're going to be able to fully just rely on pounding the ball every single play. They're going to need some big plays of the passing game, and Quincy Brand's a really good wide receiver, but he's a different type of threat than what Elias provides, which is Elias Koch is a guy that no one in the state's going to be able to match up against consistently for 4 quarters. He's going to make at least one play if you keep throwing the ball. So
Yeah, and
um,
plus being 6'2" and be able to leap out of the building
and he
too.
plays bigger than 6'2" too. He plays
He does,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, he had 111 yards on 3 catches and a TD against
yeah,
Wilson.
yeah,
And to give Wilson credit, they didn't actually do that bad against the run.
yeah,
Like Masai didn't go nuts, and obviously some jets to come here, and Quincy ran the ball once or twice. Quincy Brandon, and Jayon Lewis did not break one. Typically, he's really dangerous with his feet.
mhm,
So it wasn't like they were that far off against the run. It was just, a couple of interceptions. Gruber had 3 of them, and it just got away from Wilson quickly.
yeah,
And again, like I said, it's tough to come back against that defense when you're down 21-0. They tried, but it just didn't work.
yeah.
Okay, Dan, let's stay inside the 6A bracket, and we're looking ahead now. Let's chat Harrisburg versus Pittsburgh Central Catholic. Saturday afternoon matinee at Warehouse, Mansion Park Stadium in Altoona. Either St. Joe's Prep or Downingtown West will punch the PIAA championship round appearance on the other end. They'll play Friday night, but the Cougars and Vikings lock in on Saturday. What are your initial thoughts on this one?
Man, it's one like I said, it's really tough to kind of pinpoint this game. My concern for the Cougars is what that North Allegheny game looked like last year. Um, just a pretty dominant win for North Allegheny.
Mm,
Um, and then you kind of compare these rosters. I don't know if it's apples to apples exactly with the North Allegheny and Central Catholic roster, but I would say it's at very least a pretty equal caliber team to that North Allegheny roster a year ago. And this Harrisburg team doesn't have Sean Lee like they did a year ago. They do have Messiah Mickens. They do have Deontay Chevy. So that's kind of where the little bit of the game changer there. Kevin Brown's back. The Whippeal has been. I think the Whippeal looks pretty strong at this stage of the year right now. These Whippeal teams have been really battle tested. Like I said, I don't think that Harrisburg is going to be able to totally rely on the run game. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Messiah Mickens, who's looked a lot better as the season has gone. I think he's been more and more comfortable in the new system and has started to really look like that, Penn State running back in recent weeks. But I think they're going to have to throw the ball to win. And it's really going to come down. Jalen Lewis has had a big game this year, right when everyone was counting him out, right, against Bishop McDevitt. No one expected that game, and then he came out and had probably the best game of his season.
Yep.
I think they're going to need a Jalen Lewis type game like that to win this game because that Bradley Gompers kid is. I know he's a Duke commit, but I think there's been a lot of buzz that schools other than Duke want him, and I think I'm sure you probably saw on why other schools want that kid. Seems like a really special talent at linebacker there. I think the optimism for Harrisburg is that this Central Catholic team is very run heavy, and it's pretty hard to just consistently run the ball on a Calvin Everett Harrisburg Cougars football team. It's been done before, but it's not the easiest thing in the world to just give the ball 40 times and hope you put up 35 points. So I expect I'm wondering if Kevin Brown's going to get some more reps on defense. I think they're probably going to. I think if he's cleared to do it and there's ever a time to uncork that, it's going to be this game.
Yeah, I agree completely. Every time folks talk to me about Harrisburg being that run-dominated offense, I remember what Coach Cal told me weeks and weeks ago, and this is true. Quarterback Jalen Lewis, the guy thrust into the spotlight at Harrisburg for multiple reasons. He doesnn't have any tells. He really doesn't. He just keeps providing pivotal moments here and there, whether it's a much needed 4-yard gain or a pinpoint pass. And not all his passes are on the target, but hell, not all of Stone Saunders' passes are on the target. That's high school football.
Yeah.
These guys are not going to be dropping it in a bucket, on every play. But yet he threw two of the best balls that I saw him throw last week against Wilson. Now, both were the same play. One was both of them went to Elias Koch. He threw a beautiful touchdown pass to Quincy Brandon. So he's making plays. So that it's not just the threat of the pass there. They can throw the ball, and Lewis, I thought, has been really good. I think for what he's been asked to do, it's not just all about Mickens and the run game. The problem here is, despite the return of lineman Kevin Brown, which you mentioned, Lewis and the passing game has to come through.
Yeah.
At multiple times for Harrisburg to stay in this ball game. It's about rhythm, and PCC can consistently ruin defenses with that rhythm and pressure on the defensive side. Gompers, of course, is one of those guys that provides the pressure. I mean, he's magnificent on defense. Yes, he plays sort of that H-back role on offense, and he's a threat to do damage there. We saw that, on Saturday. But he and that linebacking core, it's probably the best linebacking core that I've seen in a long time. Gatton is unbelievable. Just they're all really high energy guys. And at this stage of the game, we talked all year about, Harrisburg does not look like a 6A roster, do they?
No.
All of these guys are playing both ways and making major contributions on both sides of scrimmage. I wonder if Harrisburg has the game plan that can actually stick and get this game in the fourth quarter, how much fatigue is going to be involved. How much is just PCC's, big roster and obviously guys who are just sort of, in one position. Roman Thompson's another guy I didn't even talk about yet. He's all over the field for PCC. So I just wonder if that's sort of the X factor. Can Harrisburg, who's already played a lot of physical football, kind of keep that up? Knowing what we know, and having talked to these kids, and knowing them pretty intimately at this point, you never count them out. You never count them out, no matter how big sort of the odds might seem. And I think that most people will agree the odds look pretty big against Harrisburg in this one. But again, it's the Cougars. They're at this stage for a reason, and obviously they're tough as nails kids. So we'll see, but it's gonna be the biggest challenge they have for sure.
Yeah.
So far. All right, Dan. Last but not least, Friday night in Altoona, the Crusaders of Bishop McDevitt. They'll meet Whitfield Dynamo, Pine Richland at Mansion Park Stadium, 7:00 for the right to battle either Roman Catholic or Westchester Ruston at Cumberland Valley the following week in the championship round. Your thoughts?
So this was a matchup that, part of it was I was at that Exeter Big Devitt game, and when you're watching a performance like that, you're just thinking to yourself, this team's win the state title, right? This is I mean, they just looked unbeatable on Friday night. But then when you start digging more into this matchup, it's a tough matchup for McDevitt. It really, it's like if you tried to build a team that was equipped to kind of slow down what McDevitt does well, I think this Pine Richland roster is exactly that, because they are as stout against the run as any team left. They are so good against the run. That's one of their tenets. I think they've given up 9 points in the last 3 weeks.
Yep.
They're just super physical. They're big. They've got corners too. They've got Lawrence Timmons' kid. I think he goes by Jay Timmons. I think his real name is Lawrence, but he's a big time cornerback that can match up against Dominic Diaz-Ellis. And then they're just, it's just that typical John Ladon, culture that he's established there, that they are just smash mouth, physical as heck, and are just gonna come into this game and try to throw a haymaker every single play, not with these big plays, but just with that physicality. And it's going to be real. It's going to be interesting because Bishop McDevitt's defense is so inexperienced. They only have 2 seniors on that entire defense. I want inexperienced, maybe the wrong word, because they do have a lot of experienced guys, but they're younger.
Right.
This Pine Richland team is something special. And, we just spent a long time hyping up that Central Catholic roster. Pine Richland beat them this year. So this under John Ladon, this has been a public school team that goes out there and has not beat up, but they have consistently beat these the private schools with the high end talent. Everyone remembers that Emotep Charter State Championship game where Ryan Palmieri put together one of like a true like Rocky Balboa type performance in that game, where he was just running over 5-star recruits as a 5'10" quarterback with the $150. That it's gonna be a really tough matchup, and I think in my heart of hearts, I think this game is gonna come down to Stone Saunders. It's simple, but I think that what has made McDevitt so dangerous all postseason has been the fact that no one has been able to stop this rushing attack. This Nazir Jones-Davis, Maurice Barnes, 2-headed back that our coworker Evan Whedon has compared to Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. And it has really been like that, right? The 2 contrasting styles of running on that team. And it's just been impossible to stop, to the point where, they haven't even had to uncork, their all-state, all-time running quarterback to throw 30 times. I think he's thrown 20 times a game in the postseason. I think this is going to be a game where Stone is going to have to drop back and he's going to have to make some big-time throws, because Pine Richland is going to say, we're not afraid of this running attack. We're going to stop it. If they don't stop it, I think McDevitt's going to cruise in this game. But if we check at halftime and McDevitt's run for 80 yards on like 21 carries or something like that, I think it's going to be arrow pointing Pine Richland.
Yeah, you mentioned Stone Saunders. I think to get that rushing, at this point, I always talk about having a balanced offense at this point in the season, and you at least, if you're a strong rushing team, you at least have to have have the threat of the pass.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you get behind the chains and you're 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12, or whatever, you've got the ability to at least sprint out and complete a big pass or two. Obviously, McDevitt's sort of the opposite.
Yeah.
That passing game has to kind of find a little rhythm early to kind of stretch out your defense and allow the run game to go. I know Jeff Wechter wants to establish that run. It's been like that all season long.
And their line has been so good this year, so
They have been.
underrated, especially in the run game. Because that was a question mark for a lot of us, was how good is this line going to be playing up a class? They've been outstanding.
Yes, I would say from week 5 on, they've been a very, very undervalued asset to that football team, and the numbers obviously, make that true. And getting those guys together, because there was a little bit of a concern. I mean, obviously there's a lot of talent, and even guys that haven't seen the Rock a lot, like Jerome LaRue and things like that. Guys like that. I mean, they've got 4 or 5 guys who can actually run. They all run with a different style. They're all based in a different package. You can actually flip it out to them if you need to, if you're locked in and Stone's getting pressure. So there's so many things that McDevitt can do here to kind of help space out that defense. That being said, the physicality of Pine Richland is going to be as strong as anything that I believe that they've seen so far in the Commonwealth. And that includes the game with the Harrisburg.
Yep, exactly.
This is a big test. This is a big test to kind of stay ahead. We know John LaDonna is going to be prepared for this. And, Pine Ridge is one of those teams, too, that they do what they do, and they don't compromise.
No.
So it's going to be up to McDevitt to kind of get themselves off to a quick start. Because the last thing I think you want to see is, something like a 14-14 game at halftime.
I will say, if McDevitt had still been in the Mid-Penn Keystone this year, I don't think I'd even be hesitating. I'd be picking Pine Richland to win this football game. I think the fact that that you kind of mentioned it, they've had those games against Harrisburg and State College, against I just don't think that they would have been ready for this game at all in terms of the level of kind of grittiness that's needed to win these football games. I think that Harrisburg game kind of woke them up to what they're going to need at this level, and I think they'll be ready in that regard. But like you said, this is a Pine Richland program that is gonna make McDevitt have to earn everything it does.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. This is not, no offense to Exeter, but the battle against Exeter last week did not prepare McDevitt for this one.
No,
it just didn't. So, and McDevitt's had a pretty easy time. Sans a tough as nails Mechanicsburg team a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Have had a pretty easy time in the District 3 postseason. That's going to change drastically here Friday night in Altoona, of course, back to the Ravens Den for both mid-Penn squads.
But
actually,
if McDevitt wins this game, I feel like, a potential matchup with Roman Catholic, yes, it's going to be really tough, but a win over Pine Richland would be such a boost to the sales of this program, because I think that would have to give them confidence that, we've faced every sort of style we can face, and we're ready to bring home another state title.
Yeah, no disrespect to Roman or WC Ruston, but to me, the champion comes out of the West.
Yeah.
They're the 2 best teams in my opinion. Ruston and Roman are where they are, rankings wise, because they deserve it. They deserve to be, but I do feel like this is the champs coming out of the West.
Yeah,
for absolutely sure. So, all right, Dan. Just to let people know too, obviously Mansion Park in Altoona is Mid-Penn's second home when it comes to state playoffs. Another District 3 champion, Lampeter Strasburg, will play at Mansion Park, 1:00 matinee on Friday, semifinal against Whitfield champion Thomas Jefferson. That should be a well ball game too.
I've heard my moles in the Western PA are just so high on this Thomas. They say this.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, this offensive line that TJ has is supposed to be something special. So going to be a challenge, but this Lampeter team has been special all year. I know the name to watch on Thomas Jefferson, maybe because I'm a Pitt guy and he's committed to Pitt, but Shep Turk is he's a real hog molly out there on the line for them.
Listen, you're not going to find anyone who loves the Whitfield say that they're not going to sweep the weekend at Mansion Park. It just doesn't happen. Even if they know better, they're not going to tell you that.
Yeah.
You know, and quite honestly, you know, history suggests that they're mostly right.
Yeah.
Whitfield sort of once, you know, the mid-Penn teams, the district teams, when they've had to go to Mansion Park, traditionally has not been great. But, you know, McDevitt and Harrisburg kind of changed that narrative a little bit a couple times. So Whitfield's still a dominant neighborhood, man, in Pennsylvania football. So until a couple more teams go out and shut them up, they can talk all they want. They've earned that right. So if you're interested in a lot of really good football, take the trip out to Altoona, maybe dig in, grab a hotel. I don't know what kind of restaurants they have there. I just try to get in and get out. But because I'm usually chasing the weather, if I can get back through the tunnels, you know, before the tornado.
Sheets has some. I had a breakfast sandwich from Sheets the other day. It was tremendous. So
yeah, I'm telling you. See, don't do that Wawa stuff. Stay with America.
Oh, I'm back in Wawa country starting 5 p.m. today. So
I just love the fact that when you're in Altoona, you can hit a 9-iron in any direction and hit a sheet. I love that.
I mean, you probably walk into a random person. Their last name is probably Sheets.
Yeah, somebody's wearing a Sheets t-shirt too, which is fabulous. They're selling merch now, Dan.
Yeah, of course. Why not?
All right. I can't guarantee you sunshine, but I can guarantee a lot of really good football and a lot of good football players over the weekend at Mansion Park Stadium. All right, that'll do it for this edition of the PIAA High School Football Report podcast. Thanks to Dan, colleague, and obviously our producer, Merlin Megan, behind the scenes. Thanks for listening, and obviously get out and watch some football, and come back next week. We'll wrap it all up.
Bone, joint, and muscle injuries, they can happen without warning. That's why UPMC Orthopedic Care provides convenient walk-in access at our injury clinics throughout the region. No appointments are needed, just walk in for expert evaluation and exceptional care by our team of orthopedic specialists. Clinics are located in Carlisle, Lidditz, Harrisburg, and Enola. For directions and hours or to learn more, visit upmc.com/injuryclinic.